To what extent is water capable of picking up information? What does it perceive? And how does it remember it over time?
Then we undertook experiments to find out whether things changed when we put something into the water. You can do that, for example, with stones or with metal, or even with living things, such as twigs or flowers. Here you see a petal from a flower, a real flower. It was placed in the water. A while later, we took a drop of water, and we put it on a slide and took a photograph of it after it had dried. And here you can see one of the pictures. And you can see it in this picture. It's the typical image you get when you put a flower into water. You could recognize the flower in every single drop in this glass, of course. That can be reproduced and has significance. And if you were to put a different flower in here, for example, a Sweet William flower, then all the drops of this water would look like Sweet William.
The Israeli scientist Eshel Ben Yaakov uses completely different methods to arrive at the same conclusion.
The odor of these plants that we have here can have a very, very strong effect. Not only if I put some leaf into the water, but just the odor which is deposited around has a very, very strong effect on the water. And this strong effect causes all the time inside to gases from the atmosphere to be mixed in to form a big network, very complicated network of bubbles, very, very tiny bubbles of gases. And the number of nanobubbles inside here, just to give you an estimate, it's about, depends on the condition, it's about 1,000 times the number of neurons that we have in our brain.
Science and play instinct are often closely connected.
As a scientist, you have to ask yourself, of course, whether there isn't a logical extension of this. What about plants? And so we tried an experiment that we'd like to call lettuce listening to a mobile phone. Here's what we do. We take so-called reference water, that is, water from the Institute here, tap water, and you can see that here in the middle it has a dark spot that you can see in the image. Well, it has that in every drop. So now we take the water, which we have in a big pot, and we simply throw in the lettuce, a real head of lettuce. And then we take pictures of it and we can see, aha, that's lettuce. Now the water knows, and you can see it, that there is a head of lettuce in there. Interestingly enough, the dark center has disappeared. This is something we very often see when we put something living into the water. It produces a bright center. The living thing apparently has a way of forming a center. So now we take a second head of lettuce and we let the second head listen to the mobile phone. That means we simply turn on the phone and hold it next to the lettuce for 2 minutes. And we assume that the lettuce has absorbed radiation from the phone. Now we take this head of lettuce and put it into the reference water as well, and we compare the two results. And you can clearly see from the results that the edge is completely different. The middle is somewhat different, so you can see that the lettuce was radiated by the phone and picked up the radiation. It has imparted that information to the reference water, and if we now take pictures of drops from the reference water where we put the lettuce, we can see from the water that this head of lettuce heard the mobile phone. That's apparently the way nature works.
So funktioniert anscheinend die Natur.
Water has a memory. And water has a kind of intelligence, much more than air, you know. Water it's a cosmic thing.
Johann Grander, the waterman of Tyrol, believes that it is possible to transfer information from one sample of water to another, without the two of them coming into contact with each other. What we know is a drop. What we don't know is an ocean. Isaac Newton.